All right, good morning once again. This is day 2 of adjectives and ninth grade composition. This is so weird. I'm never going to get used to not having a group of students to talk to when I'm teaching. It's very strange. But we'll be back on May 4th, so we'll look forward to that. But for now, Adjectives 1.3. The goal for this particular lesson is to be able to recognize and use nouns as adjectives in a sentence. So once again, we have different parts of speech in disguise as other parts of speech. Fun times. So here's something I wanted to start doing just because I've been browsing through Twitter and Facebook throughout the entirety of this thing, and there are so many good memes about quarantine, and I hate to poke fun at coronavirus, but there's just been so many funny things on there. So this one I felt particularly drawn to. It says when you find out your normal daily lifestyle is called quarantine. This is literally me. I don't ever really leave the house except for to go to work, so this applies to me directly, and I'm sure it applies to many of you as well. So there's your happy little meme for the day. So since we're talking about nouns as adjectives, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page about what exactly a noun is. I know you learned about this back in either quarter 1 or quarter 2. I don't know. I was there for part of it, but I don't really remember. So what is a noun? A noun is a word used to classify a person, place, thing, or idea. So those are your top 4. So a noun could be Donald Trump, that is a person. A noun could be McDonald's. That could also, I guess, be a thing if you're talking about the food itself, but for this example, it is a place. Stapler is a thing, and then peace, the idea of peace, is an idea, not a thing. It is a non-concrete thing, and therefore it is an idea. So I know you guys learned about all of this, but I just wanted to review so that you can actually recognize these things as we are using them as adjectives this time around. So let's review what we talked about yesterday, just so that you don't get confused. On very basic terms, the relationship between nouns and adjectives is that adjectives modify nouns. That word modify, again, you'll see it a million times, means to describe them or designate them in some way, kind of changing them slightly to make them more specific, right? So if I said I ate at that restaurant yesterday, I am designating using the adjective that, the noun restaurant, designating it as that restaurant and not this restaurant or whatever you're talking about in the conversation. Or a more obvious example, Jim, you wanted to buy the red, there's your adjective, backpack, noun. So we're just modifying the noun backpack with our more obvious adjective describing word, color, red. That's your adjective, right? So this is how we very normally use adjectives, right? Modifying nouns. Basic terms, very easily recognizable based on what you learned yesterday. But, plot twist, nouns can also be adjectives. So back in the verbs unit, I talked about verbs being disguised as different parts of speech. I was like, hey, in this sentence it says running, and you might think that's a verb, but actually it's the running man. So it's man being described by the adjective running. Tricky stuff. Nouns can do that too. Pretty much every part of speech can function as a different part of speech. And so I have to make very clear what that looks like for each part of speech. So talking about nouns as adjectives, many nouns are actually used in this way. They are used to modify other nouns and answer one of 2 questions. So they can answer the question, what kind or which one? So just like we talked about yesterday with those questions, leading us to give adjective answers, nouns as adjectives do this as well. So if we look at the chart, I have a nice little list of nouns and a nice little translated adjective version. So if we take the noun pineapple, that's a thing, it's a fruit. We can also use the noun pineapple to describe the noun juice. So then the noun pineapple becomes an adjective answering the question, what kind of juice is that? It's pineapple juice, right? So it gets tricky when you see a noun in front of a noun. You're like, wait a minute, that's not an adjective, that's a noun. Well, it's in disguise. It's being used differently. Same with summer. Summer is a idea, right? We can't really see the idea of summer, so it's an idea, not a thing. So summer home, you're answering the question, which home? Well, it's my summer home. Same with the noun parrot. If we're talking about the parrot family, I'm saying not the eagle family, but rather the parrot family, answering the question, which family? So if we move on to how this is going to look in a sentence, because ultimately what you're going to have to do is do an assignment where you are identifying nouns, adjectives in a sentence. If I said, I love to drink pineapple juice on the beach, Pineapple is an adjective here. I will not be staying in Minnesota come June. I will be traveling to my summer home. We see summer used as an adjective here. I had no idea cockatoos were a part of the parrot family. Parrot describing family. So when you go to your assignment in Schoology, you are going to have to highlight the noun being used as an adjective in the sentence. This also applies to proper nouns. So if you remember back in September or whenever, we talked about nouns that are used with capital letters, right? So it's the name of people, places, or things. So they're almost always going to start with the capital. That's your clue. So instead of calling it a proper noun, we're calling it a proper adjective in this case. So same chart, if I take the noun Vermont to describe a particular type of cheddar that is from Vermont, I would call it Vermont cheddar, answering the question, which kind of cheddar? Vermont cheddar. Same with Brahms, the Brahms Symphony. We're using the name Brahms to describe a symphony. It's not the Holloway Symphony, it's the Brahms Symphony, answering the question, which symphony? And lastly, we have to remember that proper nouns often change form when they are used as proper adjectives. So if we take the noun Shakespeare to refer to a play that was written by Shakespeare, we would call it a Shakespearean play. Which kind of play? A Shakespearean play. German, probably not a lot of you know this. Every time we are describing something that comes from Germany, we would refer to it as a German whatever. So applying to tribes. Which tribes? The German tribes. So here's your pause and think for this video lesson. If you look at this picture of a house, right, each part of the house can be named by a noun. So I gave you the example door. So what I want you to do is pause the video and kind of name all these different parts of the house, or the parts of the picture if you would like. You could do the trees and the grass or whatever. And think about, can these nouns be used as adjectives to describe another noun? So hopefully you paused, right? So here's what I came up with. Window glass, window blind, bush flowers, sidewalk chalk, sidewalk brick, and tree bark. So I'm describing the glass as window glass, describing the flowers as bush flowers, all of these things. And I'm sure there are many more examples other than these because there were so many different things in that picture. All right, so at the end of every video lesson, I will tell you what's due today, so I'm very clear on my expectations for you. Yesterday I posted this as well, but starting today it's required. It's going to be the daily check-in. So as mandated by the state, so the state of Minnesota says that we have to have a two-way interaction with students each day, which seems like very deliberate and unnecessary, but in school, there would be so many chances for me to have that interaction with you, right? Like me just counting you for attendance counts as an interaction. But when we're online, we have to be a little bit more intentional about it. So what I'm going to do is post a daily check-in in the day folder for each day. So you're going to find this one right where you found this video lesson in the Tuesday folder. And it's just going to ask you a question. It's going to be like the do now in the sense that you're just answering a question. The questions will probably be just fun questions because I don't want you to do any more busy work. So answer the question to show me that you are partaking in class. And that's how you show me that you are here. And the second thing you'll have to do every day is the daily task. So not only are you here, but you're partaking in class in an academic way. So today, the task is a 5-question assessment. Don't get that mixed up with a quiz. It's just a practice in the form of assessment. And yesterday was the Word document. I found that was a little tricky to do with uploading. And so I figured we would try using the assessment function on Schoology. See how that goes for our assignments. So to be clear, what's due today is the daily check-in in a discussion forum and your daily task. Right? Please let me know if you have any questions whatsoever, and we will be back here tomorrow learning about adjectives once more.